Devastating truth exposed. Millionaire's blind daughter Misled made unraveled insane secret. The room was silent, but the tension crackled like static electricity in the air. It was the sort of hush that held secrets heavy with unspoken words. In a lavish mansion on the edge of town, whispers floated through the opulent halls, bouncing off the gold-plated walls. At the heart of this glamorous life was Samantha Blackwell, a blind heiress locked away in a gilded cage of eternal mystery. Her world was one of shadows and whispers, where every footstep on the marble floors could lead to a revelation or disaster. But it was the unexpected glimpse of her loyal maid, Clara, that turned the tide. Clara, a woman of unyielding steel and watchful eyes, had secrets of her own, the kind that could unravel the very fabric of this elite lifestyle. As she dusted the priceless antiques, a glimmer of something sinister ignited in her gaze, a motive hidden just beneath the surface. Little did anyone know, she was about to expose a truth that would shatter everything Samantha thought she knew. Samantha lingered in her sun-drenched room, feeling the warmth wrap around her like a long-lost friend. Her fingers grazed the fabrics of her elegant gowns, but the beauty felt like a stroke of cruel irony. The sweet fragrance of jasmine wafted in, mingling with her low hum of unease. That day, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. Clara moved swiftly, her face a mask of focus. There would be no mistakes today. As she caught Samantha off guard with an unexpected question, "What would you do if someone close to you was lying?" A chill coursed through the heiress. The words hung in the air, charged with suspense. Samantha's heart raced. The clock ticked louder, echoing every second that dragged like lead. Had Clara caught a hint of the brewing storm? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as the words slipped from Clara's lips, the atmosphere thickened. The air vibrated with the promise of chaos, a looming unknown that weighed them both down. What was happening in the darkness of their lives? What web had been spun around the innocent facade of the manse? Clara had decided that today was the day. Her hands trembled the slightest bit as she prepared to unveil the truth. Samantha could sense it. The very walls of the mansion seemed to lean in, holding their breath, waiting for the revelation, ready to embrace the chaos that was about to unfold. Could one woman's hidden truth change everything? The stillness shattered like glass. Samantha's pulse quickening as question after question stormed through her mind. What if Clara knew more than she let on? What if she was hiding something about Samantha's family? Her heart pounded against her ribcage, a visceral reminder that she was in the dark literally and figuratively. Clara stepped closer, her presence intense. "You have to trust me, Samantha." Her voice lowered, urgent. "I've seen things you wouldn't believe." "Things?" Samantha echoed, the words slipping from her lips as if it tasted foreign. "What do you mean? What have you seen?" Desperation curled deep within her, a familiar sensation she thought she'd learned to tame. But this was different. Every tick of the grandfather clock reverberated around her, each toll driving the weight of anticipation deeper into the pit of her stomach. Clara cleared her throat, her fingers twitching. "Secrets, Samantha. Secrets about your father. Things he has kept hidden from you. Lies that might lies?" Samantha interjected, incredulous. "What lies? My father would never what?" Clara's voice nearly cracked, her steel facade showing the slightest hint of weakness. "Would never leave you in the dark? Would never betray your trust? That's the point. He has reasons that could change everything." Samantha inhaled sharply, grappling with the chilling implications. "You sound mad. What could possibly justify lying to me? Clara's response was a mixture of empathy and urgency. To protect you, maybe to protect his own past. The words rushed through Samantha like ice water. What could her father possibly be hiding that warranted deception? She dragged a shaky breath through her lips, the air tasting metallic in her mouth. "You're scaring me, Clara." The maid leaned closer, her breath warm against Samantha's ear. "You need to know the truth. It's about who you are, who you really are." Samantha recoiled slightly, her mind racing. Who she really was. Every insecurity bubbled to the surface, mingling with a sense of dread. "Don't toy with me," she warned, yet she was aware that part of her yearned for this revelation, for the possibility of uncovering her past. "I'm not toying. Just listen." Clara paused, as if weighing her next words. "Your mother, she wasn't who you think she was. There are layers to this family, Samantha. Dark layers." A thin gasp escaped Samantha, her hands clenching the arms of her chair with white knuckles. The mention of her mother sent a jolt through her entire being. Memories of laughter, softness, the soothing presence of her mother wove through her thoughts. "What do you mean?" Clara didn't respond immediately, her reluctance palpable like a thick fog. She glanced toward the door, as if the walls themselves were listening. "Meet me in the garden tonight. I'll show you something. I'll tell you everything." Questions spiraled within Samantha, constricting her chest. Each breath felt heavier, soaked in an unsettling anticipation. What if she met Clara in that garden and opened a door she couldn't close? "Will I regret it?" she murmured, more to herself than to Clara. "Maybe," Clara whispered, retreating slowly, leaving Samantha with a palpable sense of urgency, an electric itch at the base of her spine. As the shadows lengthened outside, Samantha sat in silence, caught between fear and curiosity. She could feel the darkness enveloping her, and in that moment, the possibility of truth loomed like a storm on the horizon. Only time would reveal what it would unleash. What was Clara hiding? And would Samantha be able to handle the truth once it was finally laid bare? Samantha stared at the doorway where Clara had just vanished, her mind spinning in a whirlwind of confusion and dread. The silence that filled the room felt suffocating, pressing against her chest like an iron weight. She glanced at the clock again, its rhythmic ticking now sounded ominous. The garden, was she really going to meet Clara there? What if the woman was wrong? What if her father truly was just a loving parent? But Clara's words hung in the air, palpable enough to touch. They whispered secrets that begged to be uncovered. A night draped its dark cloak over the mansion. Shadows danced in the corners of the room. The moonlight slipped hesitantly through the curtains, casting eerie patterns that made the walls seem alive, almost breathing. Samantha's heart thudded louder, each beat almost echoing Clara's urgent call. Mustering all the will she could find, Samantha rose from her chair, legs trembling beneath her. She pulled on a jacket, the fabric grounding her amidst the rising storm of emotion inside. She hesitated at the door, the thought of her father jolting her back momentarily. He had built a life for them, one filled with warmth, laughter, and the kind of love that should bring comfort. Yet now, doubt gnawed at her insides like a relentless predator. What if it was all an illusion? Stepping into the cool night air, she felt the weight of the world shift. Each step toward the garden felt monumental, as though she were crossing an invisible boundary. The path was uneven, and with every twist and turn, the reality of her choices sent a shiver down her spine. The garden was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, the rustle of leaves underfoot, the gentle crooning of crickets, and the occasional flutter of wings. A chill swept through the air, raising goosebumps along her arms as she approached the fountain at its center. It was as if the garden was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Clara emerged from the shadows, her figure gliding into view as though materializing from the darkness itself. Her face was serious, almost grave, and Samantha felt a rush of anxiety rise within her. "You came," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it seemed to vibrate with urgency. "I had to know. Samantha replied, her own voice trembling. Listen carefully, Clara instructed, stepping closer. What I'm about to reveal, it changes everything. Samantha nodded, her throat dry. The edge of fear sharpened as she prepared for the unraveling of her carefully constructed world. Your mother, she wasn't the loving wife your father tells you about. She was part of something darker, something dangerous. Clara's eyes flickered with an intensity that sent a tremor through Samantha. And your father was just protecting you from the truth. He was safeguarding his own sins. That can't be true, Samantha protested, but the words felt hollow. Deep down, a voice whispered that Clara was revealing something significant. Listen to me, Clara continued, stepping closer so Samantha could see the glimmer of fear in her eyes. Your mother was involved in a network, corrupt and criminal. The lies your father spun, he wanted to keep you safe for what she truly was. Samantha's heart raced, panic clawing its way up her throat. Memories twisted, morphing into something morbid. What are you saying? That I'm what? Part of that world? You might have inherited more than your mother's looks, Clara responded, her tone urgent yet edged with compassion. There's a reason you felt different, Samantha. You need to know the truth about your lineage. As Clara's words sank in, a chilling sense of destiny wove its way through Samantha. What if I don't want to know? She whispered, spiraling deeper into uncertainty. Clara's expression softened, but the urgency came back. Then you'll live in ignorance, blissful yet blind. But trust me on this, once the truth surfaces, there's no going back. You deserve to know who you really are. The darkness around them felt charged, as if the garden itself were holding its breath for the next revelation. Tension coiled tightly around Samantha's heart, making it impossible to breathe. Will you help me find the truth? Samantha asked, her voice trembling yet stronger than before. Clara stepped closer, her look fierce and resolute. But be warned, Samantha, what we discover could shatter everything you thought you knew about family, love, and yourself. A distant rustling in the bushes made them both freeze, eyes darting toward the sound. The night was twisting in ways neither of them anticipated. What was that? Samantha's voice barely rose above a whisper, her heart hammering wildly. Just then, the garden's tranquility shattered, an unexpected intrusion that sent them both reeling back in shock. Before they could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. Who, or what was lurking in the depths of the garden? And would the truth come crashing down before they could grasp it? Samantha's heart raced, each thump a frantic beat of impending dread. The figure that stepped into the moonlight was tall, cloaked in a darkness that seemed to swallow the light around it. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but she stood frozen, torn between fear and the undeniable urge to uncover the truth. Who are you? Clara's voice cut through the tension like a knife, fierce yet trembling as she squared her shoulders, putting herself between the shadowy figure and Samantha. The figure laughed a low, gravelly sound that echoed strangely in the hushed garden. I might ask you the same question, Clara, but we both know your presence here tonight is futile and dangerous. Samantha felt her stomach turn. What do you mean? The figure took a step closer, the moonlight revealing more of his face sharp features, eyes that glinted with a predatory gleam. You're treading on ground you don't understand, little girl. Knowing the truth can be a curse. Clara stepped back. Her determination wavered as she glanced at Samantha, who felt a strange sense of kinship with Clara in that moment. They shared a silent understanding both of them were standing on the edge of an abyss. What do you know about me? Samantha managed to choke out. The fear freezing her veins gave way to a flicker of defiance. Everything, he replied, his voice slick with menace. Your mother's secrets are but a whisper in the wind. It's your father who is truly hiding the deepest truths, the ones that could destroy your very essence. Get away from her, Clara shouted, lunging forward, but the figure remained motionless, a dark tower against the backdrop of moonlit chaos. I'm not here to harm her, he said, lifting a hand. I'm here to warn her. Warn me? Samantha echoed, bewildered. About what? About who you really are, Samantha. You think you can just walk away from your legacy? You will always be tied to the shadows of your bloodline, he declared, eyes fierce. His words wrapped around her like a cold shroud, suffocating and unforgettable. Samantha could nearly see herself spiraling through a dark tunnel, her family, her whole life stretching away into unrecognizable forms. Clara shook her head, desperately trying to drown out the looming threat. We need to leave. Now, mothers don't always lend us their beauty, the figure continued, unfazed. Sometimes they bestow burdens too heavy for the unprepared. Samantha felt a chill seep into her bones. What do you mean? What burdens? The figure took another step closer to Samantha, his voice now a low whisper that dripped with ominous revelation. Your mother was part of something vast and sinister, and her legacy is intertwined with the darkness that still looms over you. Even now, it waits to claim you. With those words, as if summoned by his proclamations, shadows writhed in the garden, curling around them like an unseen predator. Samantha felt every fiber of her being wanting to flee, yet the curiosity burned brighter, a desperate yearning to know where the path would lead. I'm done living in deception, she exclaimed, stepping forward. If there's a truth waiting for me, then I want to face it. An eerie silence fell, the garden falling still as their breaths intertwined with the night air charged with anxiety. Clara's eyes widened with disbelief. You can't be serious, Samantha. We don't know what we're dealing with. You don't understand. I need to find out what has been hidden from me, she insisted, looking back toward the imposing figure. I want to know what my mother really did, what I really am. I deeply admire your courage, the figure said with a sardonic smile. But remember, real truths come at a price. Are you willing to pay? Before Samantha could respond, a thunderous crack of lightning split the night sky. The moment lit the garden with a stark, electrifying glow, illuminating the figure's face, revealing a look of malicious glee. Then, just as quickly, the darkness wrapped itself around him again, as if it sought to swallow him whole. The ground trembled beneath them. A fierce wind whipped through the garden, scattering leaves and echoing an unsettling laughter that felt far too familiar. What is happening? Clara yelled, grabbing Samantha's arm. Fear bloomed in her eyes. We're about to find out, Samantha breathed, a mixture of trepidation and resolve washing over her as she held on tight to the wavering thread of truth. But then, as abruptly as it began, the storm subsided, leaving behind a suffocating silence. The figure had vanished, but the weight of his words lingered. What now? Clara whispered, and for the first time, doubt seeped through her voice. The moon now glared down like an unwelcome witness. Shadows stretched like eerie fingers across the garden. Samantha clenched her fists, a fire igniting within her. We dig deeper. If I'm tied to the darkness, then I'll learn how to wield it. But as she took a step toward discovering what lay ahead, a distant noise caught her attention, a rhythmic thumping. Growing closer, what else loomed in the shadows? And could the truth be any more chilling than what they had just faced? Samantha's pulse quickened as the thumping grew louder, echoing off the garden walls. It sounded almost like a heartbeat, steady and ominous, and with every thud, a fresh wave of panic rolled through her. Clara glanced nervously around, her grip tightening around Samantha's arm. We should get out of here, Sam. Now. Not yet, Samantha said, her voice barely a whisper. There was something compelling about the sound, like a dark invitation that couldn't be ignored. She felt both terrified and exhilarated. The thumping stopped abruptly, replaced by a rustling sound, as if someone was moving through the garden. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, and a figure emerged, stumbling into view. It was a girl, disheveled and wild-eyed, her clothes torn and dirt-smudged. A streak of mud ran across her face, but the look in her eyes was wild and determined. Samantha, she gasped, breathless. You have to listen. Who are you? Clara demanded, stepping instinctively in front of Samantha. I don't have time, the girl replied, her voice shaking. I'm here to warn you about your father. He is not who you think he is. Samantha felt her throat tighten. What do you mean? What are you talking about? There are things he has hidden from you, things that would tear your family apart, the girl urged, stepping closer, urgency spilling from her lips like a torrent. He has part of something terrifying, and it's not just about your mother. You're in grave danger, and so is Clara. You need to leave before it's too late. Stop, Samantha said, the weight of the revelation crashing down on her. What do you know about my mother? About my father? The girl hesitated, glancing nervously over her shoulder. They were both involved in something much darker than you can imagine, something that could destroy you. I've seen things that don't make sense, but they connected to you. You were meant to have a choice, but they've taken it away. What choice? Samantha pressed, her heart racing with a mix of fear and intrigue. The girl took a shuddering breath. To confront the legacy of your bloodline and to make a stand. But if you wait any longer, you might not have the power to fight back. Suddenly, the air around them crackled with energy, as if the very elements were responding to their conversation. A shadow flickered at the corner of Samantha's eye, and she turned just in time to see a dark figure dart behind a tree. Instantly, the girl's expression morphed into one of sheer terror. They're coming. You have to trust me. We need to go now. Before Samantha could protest, the ground shook again as more shadows spilled into the garden. They didn't come from the house. Instead, they emerged from the darkness, cloaked figures that seemed to materialize from thin air, their eyes glowing like embers against the night. Run, Clara shouted, her voice breaking the tense silence. And without thinking, Samantha grabbed the girl's hand, dragging her toward the path that led to the gate. A cold wind whipped around them, and the figures advanced, the air thick with menace. The shadows seemed to reach out with grasping fingers, closing in like a noose around the desperate group. They had to reach safety, but with every rushing step, Samantha felt the darkness pulling her back. The words of the cloaked figure echoed in her mind. You will always be tied to the shadows of your bloodline. Where do we go? Samantha yelled, her breath coming out in ragged gasps. Follow me, the girl shouted, urgency churning in her voice. I have a place where we can hide if we make it. As they sprinted down the path, the shadows chased them, ethereal and relentless. They could feel the oppressive weight of darkness bearing down like a storm. And for a moment, Samantha faltered, doubt gnawing at her resolve. Could she step into the world her mother had hidden? Was she truly ready to face whatever lurked in those shadows? But nothing could prepare her for what lay ahead as they neared the end of the garden. Just then, an eerie, bone-chilling howl echoed through the night, freezing her in place. Clara glanced back, eyes wide with fear, and shouted, "Keep running." Samantha steeled herself against the dread, knowing there was no turning back. But as they burst through the landscaping and into the street, another figure appeared ahead of them, a man standing tall and ominous. Samantha's heart sank as recognition flooded her. This was the man from her nightmares, the one who had warned her, the one who might hold the key to her dark legacy. What did he want? What truth would he reveal next? The man stood silhouetted against the moonlight, casting a long shadow that seemed to stretch toward Samantha like an accusatory finger. Fear clenched her heart as memories of his threatening presence invaded her thoughts. "Do not run," he ordered, his voice low and cold, slicing through the din of their panic. It sent a shiver down Samantha's spine. She wasn't just frightened. She felt cornered, as if every way out was closed off. She desperately searched for a way to defuse the tension, but there was no diluting the heaviness in the air. "Stay back," Clara yelled, stepping forward protectively. "Who are you? What do you want with Samantha?" The man's eyes glinted like shards of glass, reflecting the faint light. "I want to help her," he said, his tone impossibly calm amidst the chaos around them. "You have to understand, Samantha, your father is far more than you know." "What do you mean?" Samantha's voice quivered, caught between anger and confusion. "You have no right to be here. Just tell me what is going on." He took a step closer, and despite every instinct telling her to retreat, she held her ground. "They're coming for you," he said, his gaze searching hers as if gauging her resolve. But first, you need to understand the truth about who your parents really are. A rumble echoed through the air, as if the very ground agreed with his proclamation. The cloaked figures from the garden surged forward, monstrous and swift, engulfing the space between them. You need to decide, Samantha. Run with them, or face what's to come, he warned, his expression hardening. Before she could process his words, the girl at her side tugged on her arm, urging her onward. Please now, we don't have time. The urgency in her voice broke through Samantha's fog of confusion, and instinct kicked in. They began to move, dodging past the man and racing down the street, but the shadows lurked behind them, relentless. What do you mean, who my parents really are? Samantha shouted breathlessly as they ran. What could possibly be worse than what I'm already facing? Everything, the girl replied, eyes wide with fear. Your father wasn't just hiding secrets about your mother. He is part of something monumental, something that could rewrite your destiny. Samantha felt her heartbeat quicken at the weight of the girl's words. What do you mean? She struggled to keep pace as they rounded the corner, a split-second glance back, catching a glimpse of the man, the one who knew too much. Legacies don't just die out. They evolve, the girl said, gasping for breath as they sprinted down the sidewalk, now shadows drawing nearer. Your parents were guardians of something powerful, and it's in your blood. But if you don't embrace it, it could be the very thing that destroys you. The revelation struck like a bolt of lightning, her mind racing to connect the dots. Could her life be a part of something greater, more dangerous than she ever imagined? As they stumbled into a narrow alley, the shadows followed, their movements swift and predatory. Panic swelled, a living thing in her throat, but resolve ignited within her. I will not be afraid, she whispered to herself, brandishing a courage she didn't know she had. With a sudden turn, they found themselves at a dead end, a towering wall looming ahead. Clara's breathing was labored, and the girl's eyes held a mix of fear and determination. I have a plan, the girl said, pulling something from her pocket, glinting in the faint light. But you have to trust me completely, Samantha. What could it be? What if it didn't work? But as the shadows drew nearer, the clutches of encroaching darkness felt all too real. Trust me, she repeated, holding out her hand. Samantha looked between the girl and the gathering storm of shadows. If she turned away now, would she ever forgive herself? With her heart in her throat and the world closing in, Samantha made her choice. But would it be the right one? The girl's eyes urged her onward, a mix of hope and desperation burning within as they moved together to confront their fate. A chilling laugh echoed from the mouth of the alley, unmistakably familiar. You thought you could escape? And somehow, even in her resolve, Samantha knew this was only the beginning of something far darker. The air hung thick with unease, the girl's hand warm but trembling as she placed it firmly against Samantha's. Hold tight, she commanded, her voice barely whispering above their fearful gasps as the shadows drew closer, thickened by the darkness that loomed beyond. Make it quick, Clara yelled, eyes darting between the looming wall and the encroaching figures. The panic in her expression mirrored Samantha's own. Samantha glanced back just in time to see the faces behind the shadows, twisted and shrouded in darkness, eyes burning with intent. A lump formed in her throat, but she couldn't let fear take over. She needed to act. The girl slid whatever she had toward the wall, and it glinted again under the moonlight, catching Samantha's attention. A key? No, too small. It looked more like a piece of twisted metal, intricately designed, with patterns that seemed to breathe and pulse with a life of their own. What is that? She gasped. It's a key to something deeper than this moment. The girl was trembling, her voice urgent. Trust me, it can open a door, a way out. Where will it lead us? Samantha shouted back, the shadows drawing nearer, almost tangible, like a dark fog ready to seep into her bones. Just believe. Now, the girl insisted, pressing the metal shard against the wall with a shaky hand. But a moment passed as nothing seemed to happen. Samantha's heart raced. Had this all been a mistake? Then, with a sudden lurch, the wall trembled. Cracks spider-webbed out from beneath the metal, and a low rumble echoed, as if the very structure was alive. Dust fell, sending her heart into a cacophony of hope and dread. "Go!" Clara shouted, her voice snapping Samantha back to reality. The wall quaked, splitting open to reveal a narrow passage shrouded in shadows, darkness beyond anything they had encountered. Samantha couldn't think. She pushed through the opening after Clara, the girl coming behind her. Fear surged like fire through her veins, but so did determination. They couldn't stop now, not when they were so close to discovering what this was all about. The passage was cold and dark, the air thick with the scent of earth, and something ancient. Samantha could feel the ground shift beneath her feet, as if the whole world was waiting to exhale along with her. "Are we safe?" Clara panted, glancing back. The shadows were just outside the entrance, swirling and stretching like hungry tendrils. "For now," the girl answered, clutching the metal tightly. There was a flicker of something in her eyes, a hint of strength like a dying ember suddenly rekindled. "But keep moving. We need to get further in." As they ventured deeper into the passage, a strange light began to illuminate the walls, revealing etchings that looked like stories carved into stone, tales of warriors, of gods, of destinies intertwined. "What is this place?" Samantha wondered aloud, her heart pounding in sync with the beat of her hurried steps. "This is a sanctuary and old protectoress stronghold," the girl explained, her voice a mix of awe and urgency. "Your parents were part of something bigger than you think. They left this behind for you when the time was right." Samantha's confusion deepened. "But what does that even mean?" Before the girl could answer, a sharp crack echoed behind them, the shadows suddenly more agitated, swirling as if they realized their prey was slipping away. "We need to hurry. No time for questions." The sensation of being hunted clawed at her as they turned a corner, only to be met with another massive wall, this time adorned with symbols that felt eerily familiar. Samantha's heart sank. "More barriers?" "No, this is a door," the girl said firmly. She held up the twisted metal piece again. "This one's meant for you." Samantha swallowed hard, the weight of her legacy pressing down like a stone. What was she really stepping into? With shaking hands, she reached toward the door, her fingers brushing against the cold, ancient metal. "You have to unlock it," the girl instructed, eyes fierce and unwavering. "What if it opens something I'm not ready for?" Doubt not at her. The shadows drew closer now, their intent unmistakable. "You have to decide what kind of guardian you want to be," the girl urged. With every bit of courage she could muster, Samantha took a deep breath, letting go of her fear as she pressed the metal shard into the door. As it clicked, a low hum growled beneath her feet. Would this be the beginning or the end? But the moment the door began to creak open, a sinister voice echoed from the depths of the shadows behind. "You can't hide from the truth forever, Samantha. It awaits." Samantha's breath caught. What awaited her beyond the door? The choice loomed before her like an unsolvable puzzle, and a mystery of her life crackled in the air. Would she walk through and face the truth, or would the shadows consume her before she had the chance? In this moment, she stood at the brink of everything she had ever known, her heart pounding in sync with the dark forces gathering just behind her. With a push, a flicker of hope, and resolve that reverberated in her chest, she took the leap into the unknown. What revelations awaited her on the other side? The door swung open with a haunting creak, revealing an expanse beyond that sent chills down Samantha's spine. It wasn't just a room. It was a vast chamber, dimly lit by flickering torches that cast eerie shadows dancing against the stone walls. The sight swallowed her breath. The air vibrated with an electric charge, reminiscent of anticipation before a storm. "Keep moving," the girl urged, guiding them into the chamber. Clara hesitated, glancing back at the closing door. The shadows were still there, writhing as if stung by the fading light. Samantha stepped forward, her pulse racing. In front of her stood an altar-like structure, covered in more of those intricate symbols that seemed both familiar and foreign. This was what her parents had fought to protect. But protect whom or what? Look, Clara pointed at the center of the altar, where an object lay draped in a dusty, tattered cloth. It was small, circular, and shimmered even in its obscured state. What is that? The girl moved to reveal its entire form, casting off the cloth layer with a swift flick of her wrist. The moment the light hit, the object gleamed like polished silver, a grotesque artifact pulsating with energy. Symbols swirled around its surface, mimicking the etchings on the wall. "This is the key to understanding everything," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Your parents hoped you'd find it when you were ready." Samantha stepped closer, heart thundering in her chest. Ready for what? She could barely say aloud, dark thoughts crowding her mind. She felt the weight of history pressing down on her, ancient legends blending with untold truths. "It's the heart of this sanctuary," the girl explained, urgency sharpening her features. "It can heal or destroy, depending on a guardian who wields it." Clara's expression paled. "But how do we know if we're worthy? If you're sure they wanted us to find this, then why are we running from shadows?" As if on cue, a low chant began to rise from the depths of the chamber, growing louder, filling the air with an aura of dread. The shadows shifted, forming shapes along the edges, whispering dark promises. "They want it back." Clara gasped, her body rigid with fear. "We can't let them take it," the girl said, gripping Samantha's shoulders. "This is your choice. Only you can decide. Think of your parents. Think of your future." The chant intensified, the shadows distorting and twisting around a figure that suddenly materialized from the darkness. A hooded form, tall and imposing, stepped into the light. It was a figure that Samantha recognized from the etchings, one of the protectors, twisted by rage, eyes cold like icicles. "You're too late, child," it howled, voice echoing off the stone walls, reverberating within her very bones. "The power you seek was never meant for you." Samantha's heart raced. Was this why she had been shrouded in secrecy all her life? Why had her parents kept her in the dark? "Focus," the girl urged. "This is your moment. Embrace it." With shaking hands, Samantha reached for the artifact, anticipation mixed with fear. The moment her fingertips brushed against the surface, a surge shot through her, a flood of memories that were not her own, echoes of loss, courage, and sacrifice intertwined with the blood of her ancestors. "Join us," the figure shrieked, despair cutting through his voice like a knife. "No," the word erupted from Samantha's throat, firm and resolute. As she grasped the artifact, the chamber filled with blinding light. The shadows recoiled, hissing their displeasure. But the light engulfed Samantha, wrapping her in warmth, filling her with strength and clarity. "I will uncover the truth," she shouted, her voice rising above the chant of the shadows. "I want to back down from my destiny." The shadows shrieked, contorting into chaotic forms, retreating further back. Samantha felt the artifact pulsing in her hands, connecting her to something greater than herself. But just as it simmered down into a steady glow, the ground trembled violently beneath them. The chamber began to shake, pieces of the ceiling crumbling. Away, making the fight for control seem further away than ever. "Get ready," the girl yelled, fear sparking in her eyes. "We have to hold on to the light, or everything will be lost." Samantha's pulse quickened. Could they really harness this power to protect themselves and uncover the truth, or had they unleashed something they weren't ready to face? The shadows screamed in unison, a cacophony of rage, as the chamber threatened to collapse. What lay ahead? Could they really survive the truth hidden in shadows? Samantha's heart raced as she braced for the unknown chaos ahead, ready to face whatever truths waited for her to unearth. The weight of destiny pressed down on her shoulders, and the question hung in the air like smoke. Were they truly ready for the fight of their lives? The ground shook beneath them like a living entity, a furious heartbeat echoing through the stone walls. Dust rained down from above as the entire chamber appeared to be rebelling against its ancient burdens. "Hold on," Clara shouted, her voice barely reaching Samantha over the growing tumult. Shadows twisted and writhed, slipping farther back as though intimidated by the artifact's luminous glow. Yet the howling figure stood firm, an embodiment of pure fury and desperation. "You're a fool to believe the power is yours," it bellowed, rage dripping from its words like venom. The air crackled, and Samantha could almost taste the darkness, bitter and oppressive. "I won't let you take it." With resolve surging from somewhere deep within her, Samantha held the artifact close to her chest, feeling its warmth meld with her own heartbeat. The chanting shadows seemed to pulse, a wave of dreadful voices rising and crashing around her. "You cannot escape your fate. Join us, or perish in your ignorance." Clara pressed closer, eyes wide and filled with fear. "What do we do, Sam? We can't let this creature get to you." Before Samantha could respond, the floor shifted, and the altar trembled violently, as if trying to break free from centuries of sorrow. Dust clouds obscured vision, and a low growl emanated from the dark, making the hairs on her neck stand on end. "Remember," the girl urged, her voice urgent and insistent. "This artifact holds the truth. We must unlock its potential." Samantha shook her head, feeling the weight of reality crashing down. Could she really wield something so powerful? The answer felt within reach, yet dark tendrils of doubt whispered harshly at the corners of her mind. Thoughts of her parents danced before her of the life she had, shrouded in secrets and lies. "It's not just about us," Clara shouted, breaking through her spiral of fear. "Think about everyone who's suffered. You carry their burden now." The shadows responded, their voices rising louder, blending into a deafening roar, gnashing for her surrender. Samantha felt the artifact pulsing, harmonizing with her heart as if it could hear the call for justice, for unearthing the truth that had long been buried. "Fine," she screamed, breaking through the noise. Closing her eyes, she focused on all the memories that flooded into her echoes of laughter, sorrow, strength. With each breath, she felt her resolve solidifying. Opening her eyes, the light from the artifact exploded, bathing the room in a pure white radiance. The shadows shrieked and recoiled, their forms stretching impossibly as if being pulled apart by a force beyond their understanding. "Now," the girl hollered, her voice a spark against the chaos. "Unleash it. Use your will." Samantha concentrated, her mind racing through possibilities. With a deep inhale, she shouted, "I choose to fight for the truth." The chamber erupted in an explosion of sound. Colors collided and merged in a brilliant cascade. Samantha felt an overwhelming rush, an energy both terrifying and exhilarating. It coursed through her, igniting her veins. "All will be revealed," she declared, feeling the truth radiating through her, yearning to break free. But with it came a deafening crack. A deep fissure tore through the stone floor as the shadows shrieked in absolute fury. They disintegrated into wisps, slashing through the air as the figure stood tall, struggling against the light that was threatening to consume everything. "Foolish child," it howled, voice cracking with desperation. "You don't know what you are unleashing." As the room shook violently, the shadows whirled around her, threatening to pull her back into their dark embrace. But Samantha stood firm, her heart racing, the light illuminating every corner of her mind. Memories flooded back visions of her parents, the battles fought, the promises made. "Just a little more," Clara shouted, hope struggling to pierce the chaos. But just then, a deafening thunderclap rang out. A blinding flash distorted the room, and everything began to crumble. The walls were breaking apart as the shadows screeched, anger mingling with a palpable sense of loss. Were they really turning the tide, or was this just another hollow victory in a fight that was far from over? "Sam, we have to go. Now," Clara yelled, grabbing Samantha's hand, but her feet felt rooted to the spot. Questions surged within her. Had she unlocked the truth? Or was she setting into motion a far graver fate than she could imagine? As the chamber continued to collapse, the air thickening with a fog of despair, Samantha realized the battle was only beginning. Would she be strong enough to face the revelations to come? With a final glance back at the hooded figure, despair and anger mingling in its hollowed gaze, she gritted her teeth. Then, with one last push of resolve, she pulled Clara toward the light, hoping against hope for an escape. But as the shadows fell, one thing was clear. The truth was not just waiting to be discovered, it was hungry for her. What had she truly unleashed? As the last remnants of the darkness dissolve around them, Samantha felt the ground shift underneath, and then everything went black. When the darkness lifted, Samantha found herself sprawled on the cool grass of what seemed to be a familiar place, the garden. Yet it felt different. Vibrant colors glimmered under the morning sun, breathing life into what had been a battleground of shadows. Confusion danced in her mind, but the weight of her actions sat heavy on her heart. Samantha? Clara's voice broke through the fog, sounding tinged with worry. Samantha blinked and struggled to sit up. She took in their surroundings, the once terrifying garden now bathed in golden light. The air felt fresh and new, like a promise. Where she trailed off, grappling with fragmented memories still swirling in her mind. Do we win? Clara crouched beside her, relief flooding her expression, but concern lingered in her eyes. It's still too soon to tell. The shadows retreated, but they're out there. We don't know what this means. Samantha nodded. The shadows' desperate wails echoed in her ears. She took a deep breath, steadying herself against the tremors of uncertainty. But I chose to confront my truth. A figure approached from the other side of the garden. It was the girl, the wild-eyed messenger. You did it, she said, a hint of awe in her voice. You unleashed your heritage. The artifact responded to you. It recognized your strength. But what does this mean? Samantha pressed, a tightness gripping her chest. What have I awakened? The light you released cast away the darkness that bound you, but shadows aren't gone. They linger, waiting for a chance to rise again. Your father, he still carries secrets that prevent you from being fully free. Samantha felt a lump in her throat. Are you saying my journey's not over? That I have a fight ahead? Yes, but it's a fight for your truth. It's about standing tall against the whispers of your bloodline and creating your path, the girl explained, a fierce determination in her gaze. Samantha's heart pounded. But I can't just go back to how things were. I want to live in ignorance any longer. My parents, they deserve my understanding, not just my anger. Clara nodded, the lines of worry on her face softening. Samantha, they loved you. They chose to protect you, but now you have the power to choose as well. A choice for truth and healing. But the shadows still loomed like distant thunderheads on the horizon, and even with the girl's reassurance, Samantha wondered if the light she had summoned would be enough. Will we stand together? She asked them both, hope churning in the depths of her desperation. Without hesitation, Clara took her hand, gripping it tightly. I'll always stand by your side. The girl nodded, fierce determination etched across her face as she stepped closer. Together, we can rewrite your legacy. It's time to confront your father and unravel everything. With a new sense of purpose blooming, Samantha stood up straight, wiping away remnants of doubt. Let us go, then. We have truths to uncover and darkness to banish. As they stepped through the now luminous garden, Samantha felt something shift within her. She could sense the impending confrontation with her father looming just beyond the mansion's doors, the gateway to everything she wanted to understand. With Clara and the girl by her side, she was finally ready to face whatever awaited, empowered by the truth she had already begun to embrace. This was no longer just about her parents' past. It was her future, and she would no longer let shadows dictate the light in her life. Together, they approached the mansion, confidence blooming like spring flowers, no longer a frightened girl locked in a cage, but a warrior ready to claim her legacy. Let us make our own story, Samantha whispered firmly, lifting her chin and crossing into the threshold of the unknown. And, as the door swung wide, the light inside pushed against the breaking dawn, a beacon of hope. Samantha knew that even as the shadows loomed, she stood not just in defiance, but in the strength of truth. Her heart surged with resolve. With that, they stepped forward into the light, ready to embrace the challenges ahead and forge their paths lit by the fire within. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for our channel and make sure you don't miss any exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the adventure going. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Let us hear your thoughts. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Stand with us, be part of this community, and ensure we keep telling these epic tales together.